All right, welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. As always, I'm Adam. Got Alex, Chris, and Keith. We're about to get into the South Carolina offensive coordinator search discussion with Marcus Satterfield now leaving. But before that, like our videos, subscribe to the page, helps us out, sweet of you. So, like they just said, Marcus Satterfield kind of voluntold.
Yeah,
to leave.
I think that's the best way to put that.
Got voluntold to leave as the South Carolina offensive coordinator, joining Matt Rule at Nebraska, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's back
For his, I think this would be his fourth stint with Matt Rule.
Yeah,
So-
it was Temple, Baylor, the Panthers, and now Nebraska.
So, well, they did something right together at Temple and Baylor.
Yeah, but Satterfield wasn't a coordinator, I don't think, at Temple.
He was their offensive coordinator the first 2 years at Temple, and then he was the tight ends coach at Baylor.
So they did something right at those two programs together. They did have success together. So maybe it might have just been he didn't fit here.
It's probably like just smaller schools too.
Yeah.
Look at Temple, who they're playing.
Well, they're not. Yeah, it's
Look at
not.
the
It's
plan.
not Power 5 conference. Well, except for Baylor, but I mean,
Totally
Baylor.
don't.
It's nothing. It's nothing but offense. There's no defense in the big.
What's
12.
shocking me about Satterfield though is that the Panthers at one point in time he was the offensive line coach.
Yeah.
How do you go from?
Well, he came to us.
Anyways, I
as
digress.
the OC as
I digress.
being
My
the
bad.
offensive line coach.
I'm just happy the guy's going, to be honest.
I was about to say, I think we've all dogged him enough this year that it doesn't matter what he did or where he's going.
For
But
any-
we're glad as South Carolina fans
Yeah,
to
and
see him gone.
For any Carolina fans out there that don't understand why it took so long, I truly believe the real issue of him not being fired was who was the groomsman?
Mark
Was it Satterfield was the groomsman in Beamer's wedding?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So Satterfield and Beamer came up through the
The
coaching
pool.
tree and coaching pool together. They're best friends. So I truly believe he did not fire his friend to save face and let him be able to walk away and find another decent job.
Yeah.
And which is exactly what happened was Matt Rule got fired from the Panthers, what, 6 weeks ago now?
About 5 weeks.
About 5 weeks ago. And I'm pretty sure this has been in the work for about
Shoot, I thought it was
3
like
weeks. I would say 3 weeks now.
I thought it was
As
almost
Matt
a
Rule
done
knew he was
deal.
coming back. He knew he was leaving. So
Yeah. So
I thought once it got told that Matt Rule was going to be Nebraska's coach,
which was about what 3 weeks ago when the speculation started to
Yeah.
happen, which
Yeah.
means Matt Rule already knew. So I think that's when he finally reached out to Satterfield, his buddy, because I don't know if he even interviewed anyone else. From what I've been reading and
He said,
looking,
all right, come on.
so Satterfield accepted another job, but it was very much clear he was not going to be re-signed
Well,
at
it was 2
Carolina.
days after the Clemson game.
Yeah, he was not going to be re-signed as the offensive coordinator again. So he's finally gone, and we're now
In a search.
vacant. Yeah, we're searching.
Well, the news came out today, Dan Mullen not coming to South Carolina.
Shot that down.
that would have been nice though.
That would have been really nice, yeah. Obviously, there's a couple of different names I think we should talk about. I don't think that these are guaranteed, but, Brennan Marion at Texas, wide receivers coach currently, previous offensive coordinator for William and Mary.
He's also their passing game coordinator.
He's their passing game coordinator in
Yep.
Texas.
Well, Quinn
I
Ewers
would-
and them look pretty good this year.
Yeah,
passing.
I would say so. Garrett Riley is kind of a fan favorite. I'm not sure that
That's going to be a lot.
That's just going off of the Beamer-Riley family connection.
Yeah.
Because Beamer worked under Lincoln Riley, the brother of Garrett Riley.
Yeah, I think Garrett's in a very stable position in TCU. I would say Kendall Browse is another fan favorite right now. Obviously, Arkansas. Arkansas's defensive coordinator left for the Tulsa job, I want to say. Might have been UNLV job.
But anyway,
Anyway, he went for a head coaching job.
Yeah, it was the UNLV job. So, maybe a little cleaning of house at Arkansas there. And then the last one that would be quite interesting, I remember Graham Harrell, the Texas Tech quarterback that threw a touchdown
West
to
Virginia.
Michael Crabtree.
as I say, a Crabtree touchdown.
Yeah, so he's been an offensive coordinator at Southern Cal for 3 years, and he's been 1 year at West Virginia. Obviously, Neil Brown in a little bit of a watery situation there, so Graham Harrell would be another interesting name that we've seen pulled. I don't know if I've seen any other names.
I would say I definitely think
those have been the major ones. I mean,
Yeah.
And the only other thing is the Dan Mullen thing. He could just be shooting it down just to get like the hype down, but I don't think. I mean,
I think Dan Mullen's going to have some opportunities. I think Louisville's obviously clearly interested in him. North Texas is still open right now. There's going to be some other jobs that certainly open up between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, but I think Garrett Riley, like you're saying, that would take a lot. I think to get him out of TCU.
Yeah.
Well, what's his current contract in TCU?
You can't see it. They're a private school. So,
Yeah, no one even knows what he's making.
So I think it would take a good chunk of change to
Because
get him out of there.
So I don't-
Especially with what TCU just accomplished this year.
Yeah.
It would take a lot to get Garrett Riley out of there.
See, I kind of almost think that we do have leverage with Riley because the Big 12 is failing. I mean, they're losing schools, they're losing their big time schools, and they're trying to figure out how to save the conference, merge with another conference. They get work a pack with another conference. TCU is smaller, so we've got the larger fan base, larger alumni, larger boosters. I think we could pay him more than he's making there now, and then it's also coming over to the SEC, which is growing, unlike the Big 12, and I think has a lot more name recognition to where I think if he were to come over to South Carolina and repeat success as an OC there, he would be the immediate top of the list for any next head coaching job that came open. Which right now he's already at the top of that list, but I'm saying like if he moved anywhere and repeated success, he would be cemented as like the number one available guy for a head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, he had so much success at SMU and now already so much success at TCU.
Yeah.
So
The only caveat to that, though, with you saying that the Big 12 is crumbling to a sense, they are to a degree because they're losing Texas and Oklahoma, but they're still filling that void with 4 new teams, and they could be the top dog in the Big 12 at this point if they continue to recruit and keep good players.
I get
So
that.
I mean, so I'm not disagreeing with you. I do agree coming to a bigger school and a bigger program. Well, at least coming to the SEC East versus staying in the Big 12. I definitely think you could show your chops and show that you can go out there and make a name for yourself in our division, especially going up against Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee every year. Well, depending on what they do when they
Well, to say, well,
With the pods, with
but
other pods.
currently you would still have to play Georgia, Florida, Tennessee every year. And if you can go out and throw 30, 40 points up on those 3 teams every year, I mean, you're right. He'd be the front line for any big coaching job that comes up.
Yeah. My rebuttal to that about like being staying as top dog is it's kind of one of those things to where you can stay a top dog in a weak conference, but like it doesn't really give you any extra bragging rights. 'Cause, I mean,
it would be
for Wilder,
and unfortunately, saying a top dog in a weak conference, it's like Clemson being the top dog of the ACC. Granted, the ACC has been on the rise a little bit the past few years.
but for years there, all we ever said was look who the
Competition
at
was.
one point in time their conference championship game was them versus a 7-5 Pitt.
Yeah.
And it's
Or
like,
I thought years ago too, it was like a 6-6 Georgia Tech team that
It
went
was.
to the
so sometimes being top dog of the conference, I mean, yeah, that's nice. I mean, it'd be cool to just sit there and constantly be top dog, but like if it's a weak conference, it's not really. It's not boosting you up anymore.
It's like though they went 11-1, 12-0, whatever in undefeated seasons. It was like, yeah, but 80 of your games were against teams that barely reached 500, or was like you say 7-5, 6-6, 5-7. Like you didn't play anybody great. So unless TCU has this great out of conference schedule, or in this case, the teams just start being better in the Big 12, then yeah, like you're saying, you could see it be a lesser conference, but.
Well, again, I wasn't disagreeing. I was just looking at it from the other side of the spectrum. And saying, he could decide to stay because we don't know what he's making.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we're looking at 1.5 to the OC, upwards of 1.5.
I would say that's probably the max. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't know what he's making, but if he's already getting $1 million, $1.2 million to stay out to be what's going to be the next big school in the Big 12.
I mean, you also just have to think, like, why would you leave a team that you're in the college football playoffs for right now?
That's the other side of it, too.
That's kind of the...
Of course, this is the
Honestly,
money talks, and I understand being challenged and trying to prove yourself, but you're doing a great job at SMU, and now in your first year at TCU, you've got them in the fucking college football playoffs.
But it's also the first time they've been there since, 2014? So,
Yeah.
it took a while to get him back there. Now, yeah, he had a hand in that, but how much of that is talent that was built up from Gary Patterson going to Sonny Dykes and what Dykes got brought in too?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dykes has always been an offensive-minded person, so Garrett obviously learning from him
fits well.
and doing
Right.
well.
And you also got to acknowledge the fact that they're in the playoffs by the skin of their teeth.
They're in the playoffs just because the playoff committee didn't want to put Alabama
Just
in.
because they want the Bama in here as the
Yeah.
two walls.
Yeah.
It's because their first loss came in the conference championship weekend.
But yeah,
So-
but again though, you shouldn't penalize a team for losing in their conference championship.
No, that's what
a
we're
side debate.
Yeah, it's not big, like the respectable loss of losing in overtime in your conference championship because you went for the win instead of the tie, essentially.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Obviously, Garrett Riley, a pipe dream. The other three names we've kind of thrown out there. Anybody standing alone for you that you would really like?
I kind of want the Texas guy,
Brennan Marion.
just because with him actually having the title of passing game coordinator and him actually having a decent passing game this year, it makes me feel a little more comfortable because he's not just an assistant coach. He's actually had somewhat of that pressure on him of
Play development.
half the offense and play development is on him. Out of all of the remaining three, other than Riley that we've mentioned in this video, I'm going to go with Marion. I'm not too sure about the West Virginia coach. Just
Graham Harrell.
I don't think his resume speaks enough for him being worth the jump.
Yeah, I think Graham has such a great name about him from his actual playing days.
Yeah.
I am interested because he's obviously. I think Brennan Marion or Graham Harrell are both extremely young and not sure that they're necessarily completely proven in any way, shape, or form. So I would really kind of love Brennan Marion just because I think he gives us a couple added things. He adds to our Texas pipeline with a guy that grew up in Oklahoma, went to Tulsa, had a fantastic college career at Tulsa, and then has consistently kind of been able to recruit that area. Obviously, that's why they brought him to Texas. He's shown as an offensive coordinator at William & Mary that he has some offensive skills. He runs like what's called the go-go offense is what he did when he was an OC, and it's kind of a two-back offense. And I think right now where we're at in South Carolina, we have so many talented running backs that getting Marshawn Lloyd and Juju McDowell on the field at the same time will actually elevate our offense from what we were. So I'm with Alex here. I think he would be my favorite. I think Graham Harrell is such a great quarterback. He could really help be a QB coach in OC, which is the position we're trying to fill at the moment. Obviously, Brennan Marion's a wide receiver expert, so he's not exactly a quarterback guru or anything. But I think both of those are young guys that have been coordinators before, do run two different very styles of offense, but both could be really great because I think if you put Spencer Rattler in a high-flying air raid offense, the way Graham Harrell likes to run it, that you'll see some better results.
I would like to see how much Marion had in the Pitt offense last year with him being on staff.
Yeah, Jordan Addison won the Biletnikoff Award as the best wide receiver, so he clearly did something right.
Yeah, and so it's just I think his resume speaks a little bit more than the other candidates that we've mentioned. But what really gets me about him is, like you said, how young he is. I think the way coaching is coming out now, if you get the young coach that is going to be the phenomenal coach and the players coach and all that, if you get him before he gets good, it's so low risk, high reward.
Yeah.
It's just like you just can't pass the opportunity up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see Marion or Bryles out of Arkansas. Kendall.
I would put Bryles over
I'd like to see Kendall.
Does anybody have any hesitations about everything that went down at Baylor though with him? But
was that more so him or was that some more Art?
I mean, it's clearly Art, but you can't ignore that Kendall was on staff at the time, so.
But yeah, but if it was more so Art Bryles over Kendall Bryles, clearly he's been back in coaching. Art Bryles still isn't, to my knowledge.
He's at Grambling State.
Okay, well, he's not in a high profile.
So for those that don't know, you run down the Art Bryles whole saga and downfall and
that's another video.
Prostitution. You can find that on YouTube somewhere. So just look that up.
But yeah, I think Kendall Bryles has come back in.
So wait, he was a Hugh Freeze kind of thing?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Well, Hugh Freeze I think was more the cheerleaders instead of prostitutes.
Yeah, and Art was more covering up domestic violence than
nice.
just prostitution. So.
The big one. But yeah, Meyer, ask him about it.
Yeah. But I personally think Kendall Bryles has come in. I think that's behind him. That was more so his dad than him. So
yeah.
Yes, he was on staff. That's just like putting fault on Joe Pop for the whole Sandusky thing because he was the head coach and he
should have known about
touch kids.
No, he didn't do it. Sandusky did it.
Yeah.
But he went to the authorities and they didn't do anything about it. So that's not. There's not.
Yeah, it's completely opposite of with the Urban Meyer that I joked about that. The one coach,
Tom Herman's assistant. Yeah.
The one coach was beating his wife, and the wife the wife actually reached out to Urban Meyer supposedly, and Urban Meyer just ignored it. And that's a lot different than coaches hearing about it and going out to the authorities, or like Art Briles just being the guy that partakes in it and does nothing about it.
That's just like, who was it, Bobby Petrino or Rick Pitino who had the hotels and all that shit. So
Yeah. A lot of prostitution in
But
Colorado.
it does make me worrisome though, because there's no way he didn't know.
Yeah.
I find it very hard to believe in the day and age that we're in that he didn't know Daddy was up to some shady shit, or Dad knew some shady shit and didn't do nothing about it.
It's been 10, 15 years.
I don't know if it's been that long.
But
Still.
Yeah. Little
but
bit
I
of
think-
hesitation there for
Well,
me.
I think the two guys. I personally, I think it's got to be Glenn, or it's got to be Marion. But I think Graham fits what we're trying to fill in the fact that it is a quarterback coach position / OC, and because I think we got a wide receivers coach that knows what he's doing. I mean we got some pretty talented wideouts, and they seem to know what's going on with that in that department. So it wouldn't hurt to have another wide receivers guru, but I think where we need to have that mind is a quarterback guru, and I think Graham offers that, especially playing in it as a college QB. And I think that would help the offense more than having another wide receivers coach on staff.
Yeah, and I would like to see us get an actual proven quarterback coach, unlike Satterfield kind of leaving that void, but that is this a guy that it reminds me of the Bobby Bentley days, like where this coach was bouncing between position groups that just it's like, how are you coaching these different position
being a
groups? Like
tight
they're
end coach,
going from like
and
tight
being a
end to
coach.
quarterback to all of a sudden being like a safeties coach or something like that. You're just like how are you bouncing around? Like
special
Satterfield's done tight ends, offensive line, and quarterbacks, and just like
Three very different positions. Granted, it's all on the offensive side of the ball, but three very different roles of the offense.
yeah,
So, but still, you're
very
like
much so.
you're like they work together, but they also don't work together, and you should be specialized. I
You
guess.
should be specialized in that position. So it'd be cool to see an actual like a guy that played quarterback at an elite level come in and actually try to help your quarterback get to that level as well.
Especially playing in Radley coming out of Oklahoma that was in the same division as Texas Tech, and maybe not win that air raid offense, but that's what it was kind of known for.
Yeah.
At that point in time.
Okay. Any other final thoughts before we put a bow on it? No?
Good.
All right, well, hit us in the comments. Let us know what you think or who you think should be the next offensive coordinator at South Carolina. As always, we appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe.